CTV News at 5 with Tony Rima and Rick Wyman with weather.
Well, good evening. Thanks for joining us. Tony is off. One person has been injured and taken to hospital following a shooting overnight in North Bay. Police say the shooting took place in the Seymour and Franklin Streets area near the Highway 1117 bypass between midnight and 2 a.m. Well, the suspect is still at large. Police believe this to be an isolated incident with no threat to public safety. Anyone with information is asked to call police or Crime Stoppers. Well, time for your first check on weather. For more details, we go to CTV's Rick Wyman. And Rick, looking at that radar, that's quite the mess we're looking at.
Yes, and the good thing for the kids, they're not in school tomorrow because they were off today because of the weather, because of the rain, freezing temperatures, and a lot more. Your first take on weather brought to you by CAA. Get your membership today at caa.ca. Are you ready for the snow tomorrow? In some cases, 5 to 10 centimeters, 5 centimeters, 2 to 4 centimeters. We'll take a look at some of the numbers and more coming up. And periods of snow off and on for the next couple of days. Then things get a bit warmer just in time for Christmas. Of course, the countdown officially underway. This is the last weekend before Christmas next Thursday. Ian, back to you.
Thanks so much. I'm definitely not ready. Thank you, Rick. Well, a 16-year-old has been charged with trafficking after the recovery of a stolen vehicle Thursday. Police say they noticed the car parked at an address on Frood Road. They observed a young person leaving the home and approached on foot. According to investigators, the youth tried to flee police by ramming the stolen vehicle into an unmarked cruiser. A subsequent search led to the seizure of 136 grams of suspected cocaine, valued at more than $13,000 and cash. It's back to the drawing board for the City of Timmins and the Cochrane District Services Board after provincial funding for its new encampment site on Highway 101 fell through. The board met last night after learning the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing would not let funding for the original Pine Street location be transferred to the new project. The proposal would have meant a 44-unit modular facility and adjacent encampment support zone on the highway to address needs. The board, along with its partners, will now be meeting in hopes of coming up with an alternate solution and opportunities to pursue provincial funding.
It's disappointing that the funding resources that were there are not available to us. It is encouraging that the ministry is still open-minded to the fact that resources will be required. I simply want to state from our perspective that while we support the city and the DSAB through this initiative, we cannot absorb the type of costs that are on the table, even with the current locations that were being discussed.
Paulides says it would have meant a significant tax levy. He and several councillors expressed disappointment in the funding dilemma. The board says it remains committed to redeveloping and relocating its shelter services and that homelessness strategies are needed for the district and James Bay communities. A newly formed group that advocates for the homeless wants data published by Public Health about frostbite amputations and deaths by hypothermia. CTV's Elena Everson reports.
Conditions are wet and cold at the Energy Court Encampment site after rain and snow over the past 24 hours. Puddles surround many tents people live in. Holland Marshall is leading a new effort to get data relating to frostbite amputations and hypothermia deaths published by Public Health.
Getting your feet wet. In World War I, that was called trench foot. And that name has seemed to stuck. But what happens is we had rain now. After we had snow and it's cold, we have rain. And if you think it's better, no, it makes everything worse because your sleeping bags, your clothing, your socks, your shoes, your pants, everything gets wet.
Marshall has reached out to Sudbury MPP Jamie West, who feels publishing this type of data would be helpful in assessing the needs of the homeless population and the challenges people face.
We had the meeting with Holland last week. Right away, my team in Queen's Park has reached out to the Legislative Library to find out what happens in other provinces so we can take a model that they have to share here in Ontario. We're also going to be speaking with Public Health to make sure they're able to work with this data because we know that they had funding cuts as well, so we want to make sure this is successful all the way around.
Marlon Wright has been homeless on and off for several years. He lost his fingertips in Regina and some toes in Sudbury due to frostbite.
It's painful. It's painful. Like severe frostbite, like when that happened to me, it was extremely painful. Like the morning when I got into somewhere warm, it felt like it was being burnt. Like it was burnt or you slam your hands in the car door or something like that. That's what it feels like, but it's continual.
Marlon stays in the shelter overnight, but says days can be cold on the streets, getting to places to get warm. In an email, Public Health Sudbury and Districts says it does not have access to data on cold-related injuries, but supports this kind of information being centrally collected and made public. Ellen Everson, CTV News, Sudbury.
Time for a quick break. Coming up on CTV News at 5, Rick has your full weather forecast. Also ahead, Northern Ontario cracks the top 10 when it comes to weather events from the past year. We'll take a look at the stormy situation after this.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Crazy weather last night and overnight with all kinds of rain. Then the transition to, well, colder temperatures and the snow. And so it begins for another weekend in Northeastern Ontario. Expect the unexpected. This is what it's going to look like by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Snow over the course of the day. For the most part, 5 to 10 centimeters. In some cases, just 5 centimeters. Here's a look at Sunday at supper time as well. Then more flurries coming up at the beginning of the week. Sudbury Nickel Belt. Snow tomorrow, 5 to 10 centimeters, -4. Chance of flurries on Sunday. Monday, chance of flurries. Chance of snow on Tuesday, and of course Christmas Eve, chance of flurries. Take a look at the temperatures and get ready for Christmas. Sault Ste. Marie Algoma, snow tomorrow, 5 to 10 centimeters during the day. Another 5 to 10 tomorrow evening, -2 your high. Chance of flurries Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Christmas Eve. But the temperatures here, we go from -6, -2 to +1 Tuesday and -1 on Christmas Eve. How about Timmins, Cochrane, Kapuskasing? Snow tomorrow, 5 centimeters, -6 your high. -14 on Sunday, chance of flurries. Chance of flurries on Monday, -15. Warming up to -4 on Tuesday, chance of snow and chance of flurries on Christmas Eve at -8. So colder nights though, -15, -18, -21 on Tuesday, then warming up on Christmas Eve. Temiskaming Shores, Kirkland Lake, snow tomorrow, 5 centimeters, -3 your high. Chance of flurries on Sunday, more of the same on Monday. Chance of snow on Tuesday. So we go from, well, -11 to 0 Tuesday. Then we go down to -8 on Christmas Eve. So again, those temperatures at night, -11, -18, -29. Then it starts to warm up on Christmas Eve at -9. So get ready for that. Some changes coming by about midweek. North Bay, West Nipissing, snow tomorrow, 5 to 10 centimeters, -1. Sunday, chance of flurries. Monday, chance of flurries. And the chance of sleet, rain, or snow Tuesday. +2 degrees, things warm up. Then at night, it plummets to -16. -6 on Christmas Eve, 30% chance of flurries. So more snow tomorrow, Ian. Make sure that snowblower is working. You will probably need it. Then flurries off and on over the course of the next couple of days, and a little bit of warmer weather coming up just in time for Christmas Eve. Back to you.
Got it all gassed up. Thanks, Rick. Well, with wild weather ripping its way across the country this year, Northern Ontario made the cut for Environment Canada's top 10 list of weather events. CTV's Madison Merrier reports.
From the second worst wildfire year to record late summer heat, Canada has experienced extreme weather conditions this year, and Environment Canada has ranked them.
These decisions are made by a group of meteorologists, and we look at things like the cost of the event. We look at the impacts, how many people were affected by it. We look at the region, the reach of the event, how widespread the impacts were, and then of course a big factor is actually how long it remains in the media.
Northern Ontario is no stranger to the list. At number 3, under the powerful thunderstorms, is Samuel de Champlain's devastating downburst that the provincial park is still recovering from.
The widespread damage that was caused by something called a downburst, which is a gust of air that extends out of a thunderstorm, hits the ground, and then spreads out. So it toppled a lot of trees over a very large region, especially Semyon de Champlain Park. And it happened during nighttime and when a lot of people were out camping. So there were a lot of injuries and a lot of damages.
This was an unprecedented weather event. This was the most severe storm ever to hit one of our Ontario parks. So the devastation was just horrifying.
Also on the list at number 5 is the major ice storm from late March that hit hardest in Muskoka, but Environment Canada says the rain fell and froze for over 20 hours in Sudbury, Sault Ste. Marie, and more.
In this case, we had a big long warm front draped essentially from Sault Ste. Marie across Georgian Bay and east toward Kingston, and all of the towns and locations along that warm front and just ahead of it or just to the north of it experienced many hours of freezing rain, which resulted in a lot of ice accumulation.
Smith said this is the 30th year of compiling the top 10 weather stories into the list. When it first began 30 years ago, they had a hard time finding 10 weather events. Now they're having a hard time narrowing them down. Madison Marier, CTV News, Sudbury.
The City of North Bay is offering a special reward for completing the Downtown Waterfront Development Survey. The survey, available on the city's website, is collecting feedback on 3 conceptual designs for development of the parcel of land behind the North Bay Museum. Residents who complete the survey in full are entered into winning one of 6 $100 Kello cards, valid at more than 20 shops and restaurants in the city. Surveys must be completed by January 14th. The holidays are a time when families and friends reconnect and spend time together. But for many, this time of year can be difficult and painful. CTV's Eric Tashner has more.
As the holidays inch closer, the CMHA is highlighting the rise in estrangement, the process of becoming alienated from family members due to a breakdown in the relationship. CMHA psychotherapist Emily Colby says these cases are more prevalent during the Christmas season, a period saturated with idealized portrayals of family harmony.
It's really hard to walk down the street and see families out shopping together, see people celebrating the lights.
Estrangement is complex. It can be linked to abuse, conflicting values, substance abuse, or mental health challenges. And for some, walking away from those toxic relationships is liberating. For others, it can bring a profound sense of shame or loneliness, guilt, sadness, and anger.
My job to support people when they're going through this is to actually create connection, help them bond together, help them pull together as a community, find supports in the community.
There are a lot of resources to help. Even just volunteering with community organizations can help lift spirits. But for some extreme cases,
CMHA has a drop-in center for folks who may be experiencing a bit of isolation or want to balance out their social and emotional mental health.
A recent study out of the U.S. suggests that as many as 27% of adults reported they are estranged from at least one family member. Anecdotal evidence from psychologists across Canada indicate this trend is on the rise.
That saying that you don't know what people are going through is, I think, a really important, concept to highlight.
CMHA data finds over 80% of individuals estranged from their mothers eventually reconcile, while just under 70% reconnect with their fathers.
Seek validation for what you're going through because it's very unique, but at the same time, it's a fluid process.
Eric Tashner, CTV News, North Bay.
Coming up on CTV News at 5, the North Bay Granite Club is getting set to host provincial curling playdowns, plus a big night for the troops as the fur flies down on the North Bay Battalion. We'll be right back.
Hockey This Week is brought to you by Rastall Nut and Bolt Company. 18-year-old Brant Romanuk of the Timmins Rock is back from the Junior A World Hockey Challenge in Quebec at Trois-Rivières, where he represented Canada East this past week. Hi, Brant. How are things going?
Things are going great.
I guess you must be rolling in that emotional high coming off a pretty good tournament. So despite losing to Sweden in the bronze medal game, tell me about your experience being the only player from the NOJHL.
Yeah, I know. I had a great experience. It was an absolute honor to be representing the NOJHL at that tournament, and met a lot of great people, the coaching staff, met a lot of great teammates, and creating forever bonds.
Okay, Brant, I want to talk to you about 2 big goals in shootouts that you scored earlier in the tournament. So how did you process the pressure? It's always huge on players going into the shootout. So how did you do it?
Yeah, I was a little nervous, but I got my name called from the coach, and they were counting on me to score, and just had a move in mind and put it in the back of the net.
Okay, now your team wound up playing Canada West in the semifinal, dropping a 2-0 decision. So how is that rivalry between Canada East and Canada West?
Yeah, it was a pretty big rivalry the whole tournament. We had an exhibition game against them, and things were getting pretty rowdy. And we were in the same hotel, and there was just you could just feel the rivalry. And we had a really good tournament. We went 6-0, counting exhibitions, all the way to the semis. And Canada West didn't win a game, so we kind of had a high going into that, and they took it to us and beat us 2-0 with an empty netter. So it was a pretty heartbreaking loss in the semis.
No, Brant, you're coming off 49 points with the Timmins Rock, and I want to ask you, more importantly, what did you learn playing with the new teammates and really at that level of competition? What did it teach you?
Yeah, no, Brandon Perry from the Timmins Rock, such a great coach, and I learned a lot from him. And going into that tournament, I just brought everything I've learned over the years in Timmins, and just trying to create quick chemistry with your line in Trois-Rivières, and just working really hard as a team, and listening to the coach's system and how we want to play, and just go from there.
Okay, now I understand you've been talking to a team in the BCHL. Are you heading west?
Yeah, things aren't 100% yet, but it looks like I'm going to be heading west, yeah.
Hey, continued success with your hockey career, whether it be in Timmins or the BCHL. The Timmins Rock are certainly lucky to have you. Brant Romanuk, my guest on this week's Hockey This Week. We're back in a few weeks with more.
Thanks, Rick. Well, what a night to catch a teddy bear game. Check this out.
Greer with a shot. Scores!
The arena was jumping in North Bay as the fur flew at the North Bay Battalion game. We're hearing they had enough to fill the back of a pickup truck at least. All of those bears going to worthy causes around the city. Way to go, Troops fans. And way to go, Troops. North Bay would go on to beat the Guelph Storm 6-2. The Sudbury Wolves were in Barrie last night where they picked up a much-needed win. Hometown hero Alex Fennell netted 2 goals early to get the scoring going. Wolves win 4-1. The Sioux Greyhounds also on the road down in the Motor City. The Spits just having an epic game despite goals from Quinn McKenzie and Colin Fitzgerald. Windsor wins this one 6-2. Tonight, the Sudbury Wolves are in action at home as the Guelph Storm blow into town. Game time at the Sudbury Community Arena is 7:05. Over to the Northern Ontario Junior Hockey League now, where the French River Rapids teams were stealing a pair of play goals last night. They played the top-ranked Sudbury Cubs and unfortunately dropped this one 11-3. Both teams will have the night off, but the Powassan Voodoos are in Kirkland Lake to take on the Gold Miners at 7 o'clock, while the Blind River Beavers head over to the face-off against the Sioux Michigan Eagles at 7:30. And tonight's game between the Hearst Lumberjacks and the Timmins Rock has been postponed due to weather and road conditions. It's icy out there. The North Bay Granite Club is hosting provincial curling playdowns. Northern Ontario teams will compete for a berth to the Scotties and Brier starting January 6th at the Granite Club. The event will feature some of the top curling talent Northern Ontario has to offer, including Team Jeff Brown on the men's side and Team Joanne Forget on the ladies. Winners from this tournament will represent the green and gold at Scotties in Mississauga and the Brier in St. John's, Newfoundland. Grocer Metro Ontario is supporting school breakfast programs at 5 elementary schools across the province. In Sudbury, Lansdowne and Princess Anne Public Schools, every student at the 2 schools received a breakfast kit to take home for the holidays to ensure they would have a nutritious food to share with their family. Students had this to say about the donation.
I think it's great that Metro donated us all of this food, and it was a very kind gesture. Students who may not have food at home now have access to breakfast over the holidays.
Thanks for being so kind, Metro.
The senior VP from Metro adds they are happy to be supporting this initiative. Well, such a good news. And if you're in the market for good news next week, make sure to tune in starting Monday for the 11:30 newscast. We'll be taking a look back on the year that was and some of the positive news or warm, fuzzy stuff that may have happened to melt your holiday hearts. That's next week on 11:30 here on CTV Northern Ontario, along with Crave. When we return, we'll take a look at your community close-up. You're watching First at 5. Time now for our community close-up, and for that we begin in North Bay. Cindy Lou Heppenstall-Brooks sent us this incredible shot from Campbell Street. Love the street name, love the picture even better. She tells us this was taken last week before the big thaw. Now there is grass in the backyard. I've got that issue too. Thanks so much, Cindy, for sending it in. Barb in Greater Sudbury sent us this beautiful picture of some bunnies, and I'm going to be frank here. What is better than some video of bunnies on a Friday afternoon? Looks like they're not having any problem with this weather. Thanks a lot, Barb. And if you are in the Kapuskasing area, make sure to stop past the Civic Center in Kapuskasing Sunday afternoon. Starting at 4, there will be a live nativity and Christmas concert. People are invited to come and journey through the Christmas story and walk through live acted scenes featuring real animals. Sounds like it's going to be an incredible time. If you have any pictures, videos, or events you'd like us to showcase, you can email them to us at communitycloseup@bellmedia.ca. And this was the scene early this morning in Noelville. I was honored to be one of the dozens of volunteers who took part in the French River Christmas Basket Campaign. All volunteer run thanks to the generosity of Northerners. 115 families received help this year to get them through the holidays. Just an amazing operation they had going. That food will hopefully get them through December and put some smiles on people's faces for sure. Way to go, French River. I know Club Richelieu Les Patriotes will also be handing out 130 baskets to Sudbury families tomorrow. And so many of you across the north will be donating or volunteering your time to groups like these. Thank you all for what you do. There's more news for the north coming up at 6. For now, continue watching as we hand things over to CTV National News.